as you say, I mean, change is happening fast, right? And I think Africa is experiencing the same trends that the rest of the world has been seeing for several years. I think we're watching enormous growth in smartphone ownership and internet access. I think in Kenya, it's interesting that we've been tracking the growth of smartphone ownership amongst 15 to 24-year-olds for the last 3 or 4 years. And between 2015 and 2016, we saw smartphone ownership grow by 50%, so from 24% of all youth to 36%. In 2017, we recorded no growth. And that's all about political uncertainty. It seems like everything stopped or even went backwards in 2017. And so smartphone ownership is part of that trend. And with that come all kinds of challenges facing the rush to technology. So that bandwidth, data bundles, all of these difficulties are still presenting themselves between consumers and technology. So while the top end of society is enjoying broadband and Wi-Fi, most other people are still counting every coin as they consider what to click and what to touch and what to consume online. So I think there's still a debate and a tension in that market that will take some time to shake out. We still produce paper. So our paper comic books that we print 1.5 million copies every month are still our core business, because at the bottom of the African consumer pyramid, actually a piece of paper feels like new media. And I think we still find a particular kind of engagement that happens with paper that isn't happening yet online. But I think, like many other brands, we are trying to navigate that transition. So it is inevitable that more people will go online. But people consume media in a different way when they go to the internet. People want a different type of media experience. And it's not, I mean, you can't just take a comic book and publish it on a screen and expect people to experience it in the same way. And I think all of our media brands across Africa and the world, by the way, are still trying to navigate that change.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of investment happening in Kenya particularly. We've seen big companies like the Nation Media Group come up with a very comprehensive digitization plan. And here you are, you're saying for a good section of the people, paper still feels like new media. What kind of investment will take for you, maybe as the investor behind Well Told Story, to then try and keep up with everyone? Because the last thing you want is everyone to be on a screen and you're still on paper.
Yes, correct. So we are plowing a great deal of time and energy and resource into digitizing our brand. That doesn't necessarily mean digitizing our products. Yeah. It means digitizing our brand. So what do we stand for in the minds of our audience, our consumers, and how do we take that notion and that experience into a digital platform? So we're working hard on that, and I don't know if we'll get it right, because it's not easy and it's not automatic, and we still can't exactly see where it will go. So we're innovating fast, and we're working with some nice partners. Microsoft are being extremely helpful to us. We're using them to access the power of cloud computing in Azure. We're also working with some big businesses who are interested in enriching the kind of experiences audiences can have, because the transformational effect of a brand on the internet is it becomes three-dimensional, and everybody understands what that can unlock. But it's still got to meet African consumers where they are, and it's not necessarily the case that we can simply bring a model that's worked in the US or in Europe and assume it'll work for our African customers. And I think that's where we're having fun, and also a few sleepless nights, trying to understand where do we put our resources so that we can make that jump to the next stage.
Mm-hmm. So that's really the hardware and the software part of it, but let's talk about the story here. I mean, how do you then come up with a story that moves this audience that's pretty much moving? They want to access it everywhere across multiple devices, at any place that they are. How do you capture them from the story perspective?
So that's something we're quite accomplished at. And even today, our comic book is only one face of a story that exists on multiple platforms. And in fact, the Emmy Awards, which we've won, have been for just that. How do you deliver a story simultaneously on multiple channels and expect the audience to have a coherent experience, knowing that not everybody touches all of those channels. Some people are heavy on one and not on another. Now, what we know, though, from our research is that audiences who work with us on two platforms, so a young Kenyan or Tanzanian who follows us on paper, and that's about half of all Kenyans aged 15 to 24, and also follows our Facebook page, those young people are seeing extraordinary benefits from doing so. So it's the combination of those two types of engagement. Maybe this one is very visceral. This is all about feelings and norms and understanding how the world looks at large. And then when you go online and you touch that like button, somehow that flips people's minds into another space where they become actually almost physically engaged, rationally engaged with a set of values and experiences. So actually our audience and impact research is really discovering an interesting dynamic between the analog and the digital channels, and how people, when they relate to both, are drawn into a much more profound emotional and rational relationship with the story. So we are really working hard to say, how do we take a comic, which works very nicely on a piece of paper, and how do we deliver just the key pieces of that into an environment where online everybody is a publisher. You said yourself at the beginning, everyone's got a publishing device now that they have a telephone. And I think that's the really exciting challenge, is to say, well, come and make the story with us. You can be part of the story, and you can also be part of an enormous community who co-own what's getting made. And I think bottling that magic is the challenge of the 21st century, giving people a chance to participate and feel excitement, while also delivering a consistent high-quality experience.
Right. And then looking at all this, my final question then is, what is going to deliver the next Emmy for you? And are you working towards it?
Oh, that's a great question. We wonder about that quite a lot. So we made a movie last year called Gitonga Love, which we shot on a mobile phone, and we distributed it physically on DVDs to video dens around Kenya. And unfortunately, it missed the cut for the Emmys. So there's a certain date by which things have to be done if you're going to make it. So we were very disappointed, because we thought that one had a really good chance, because it was a great story told in very, very innovative ways. I think that the next one, well, let's see. There might be something coming this year. Well, we're certainly hopeful.